All right, so Aunt Barbara is sewing a rectangular blanket for her niece, and the dimensions are shown at the right. She wants to find the area of the blanket. So what information, we're going to use this information for A through C. Okay, so when we look at this, she sets up the expression. She's multiplying the sides. This is different from our warm-up where we added them all because that was perimeter. Remember, area is multiplying. She thinks the product will be x squared plus 8. Okay, so we're going to talk about how she might have gotten this. What do you think she did? I'm going to tell you that is not correct.
I think she x times x.
She did x times x and 4 times 2. Yes, I would say so. Okay, that is not how we do this. So we're going to talk about how to fix that today. So instead of algebra tiles, I want you to think about biology. Some people liked this and some people didn't in biology. And I want you to think about a Punnett square. Okay? Now, this is not the only way to do this, so I'm just going to introduce it this way. If this is not the way you like, because I know some people were like, oh my goodness, please no more Punnett squares. We're going to talk about another way. So really all we're doing, we're saying x times x is what? X squared. And then we're going to say x times 4 is just 4x. Okay, make sure you put a symbol there, right? Because when we write out our terms, we need to connect them with symbols. And then, so we're done with our x's. So we're going to do 2 times x is 2x, and then 2 times 4 is 8. When we write out what we just got, record our area. Now, we are going to have to simplify it. We're not going to do that just yet. We're going to write what we have. We have x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 8. So we're just writing out what's in the box. But this is not technically simplified because in our lesson on Friday about collecting like terms, do we have like terms right here? Yes. What does that simplify to? X squared plus 6x plus 8. I didn't have enough room to write it on that top one. And it says, did she do it right? No. You're not going to be able to do what Aunt Barbara did. We're going to have to look at this. We call this the box method or the Punnett square method, but I'm going to show you a couple other ways as well. Okay, so we're going to multiply that first term by everything in the second term. And then we have to make sure, this is super important, that we collect like terms. Signs are going to be super important, and exponents are going to be super important. All right, we'll do this one with the Punnett square because it's already done, right? So remember, on a Punnett square, we're just multiplying. So you can put ones here. You can put an exponent of 1 if that helps you. Okay, so we're saying x times x is what? X squared, and then you got to do x times a negative 5. Be careful with your signs. What do we got? Negative 5x. So for the second row, now we're looking at 3 times that x. So positive, put a plus sign because it is a positive. Signs are important here. And then 3 times negative 5, a positive times a negative is a negative. Now, when you look at the Punnett square, the nice thing is about 95% of the time, your like terms are going to be diagonal, okay, for you to go ahead and collect. So you've got your x squared. We talked last week, highest exponent to lowest exponent is how you should try to write it. Then I have negative 5 and a positive 3. How many x's is that? Minus 2x, and then that minus 15 doesn't have any friends, so we're just going to write it. This one, the Punnett square is not set up for you. That first one, it can go in the top or down the side. because order doesn't matter when we multiply. 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. So you could put the 2x plus 7 down the side and the 3x minus 1 across the top. It's entirely up to you. Do be careful if you want to put that exponent of 1, because that is what we did in the last unit. X times x, we have to add those exponents, or you can just say there's 2 x's, I know it's squared. 21x, and then when you do negative, be careful with those signs, negative 2x and negative 7. So when you collect your like terms again, most of the time, if you're doing the box, it's going to be diagonal. 21 minus 2 is 19. Don't forget your letter. Signs, I cannot even stress to you enough, and I've said it all year, are major, major, major. Okay, so be very careful. So another way you can do this, and you might have heard about it in science, is FOIL, which is just a fancy rainbow, right? We're going to multiply the first terms. We're going to multiply the outside terms. We're going to multiply the inside terms, and we're going to multiply the last terms. So the easiest way that I can explain this to you, I'm going to put some ones here, is essentially think back to Unit 1 when we first started doing multiplying with distributing. So you're going to cut, like, don't pretend that second one in the first parentheses. Pretend it's not there. And we need to multiply this 3r squared times everything in that second parentheses. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we're going to say 3x squared times 1r to the first. Well, think of, and you don't have to write this step. I just want you to see what's happening. So what we're doing is 3 times 1 times r squared times r to the first, right? So when you multiply your regular numbers, 3 times 1 is 3. How many r's do we have?
3.
We have 3. 2 plus 1 is 3, just like in our last unit. And so that's what they mean by first, right? You're multiplying the first term in each parentheses. Then it says outside, so you're multiplying the outside terms in each parentheses. But if that doesn't make sense to you, just think about, we're just distributing like we did in Unit 1. So this is 3 times negative 9. Well, what's 3 times negative 9? Negative
27.
Negative 27 r squared. Okay, and again, you don't have to write that step if you're like, you know what, I really don't need that step. So we've multiplied everything by that 3r squared. So I'm going to take away my little box here. And we're done with this one, so I'm going to cover it up. I'm not worried about it anymore. And now we're going to multiply everything in that second parentheses by this negative 2. So when it says inside, it's saying multiply the 2 inside terms. So negative 2 times r is what? Negative 2r. I want you to notice where I write this. Actually, that is not the right spot. I needed to put it over here. Sorry. Negative 2r, and then the last terms, plus 18. Do I have any like terms here?
No.
I do not, so I am actually done. Now, and we'll look at one in a minute where we do get a like term, okay? And when we do that, we'll see what that looks like. All right? We're not going to do this method right here. We'll talk about that when we get to factoring. This is showing you FOIL again. Okay, I don't like when they already do the arrows because I really feel like you need to draw the arrow and do your multiplying. I'll show you both with the box as well. So just keep in mind, be very careful, especially with those exponents. So 2x times x is 2x squared. And 2x times negative 7 is negative 14. So I know that you do most of that multiplying in your head. I don't expect you to write that middle step that we wrote before. And we're done with this 2x, so I'm not going to worry about it. And now I've got to multiply everything by that 5. Now, I want you to realize this is 5x. Notice where I put it. Why would I put it underneath the negative 14x?
So that way you can just go down once inside 5.
Just go downwards for the like terms. Now, if you're one of those people that when we did like terms the other day, you were like, you know what, Mrs. Ray, I'm perfectly fine writing it like this, and then you're like, oh, I need to put them together like that, then that's fine too. We talked about pick the way that works best for you. Personally, we talked about this. My personal preference is vertical, is the way my brain works. But if you like to write yours all the way across, then that's fine. Be careful with your signs here. 5 times -7 is a -35. So this one, you do have to collect like terms before you're finished. It's not just multiplying. You got to simplify it as well. We're going to try number 4. You can use FOIL, which is distributing, or you can use box. It's up to you. All right, so it doesn't matter which way you do this one. Okay, whether you do the box or whether you do the multiplying, you should end up with 5x squared minus 36, or 63, excuse me, x plus 88. And if you notice, in the box method, right, you have the same first term, and then instead of going across, it's just going down. The second term is the same, and then you've got these match. So it's really exactly the same thing. It's just how do you want it to be organized. So on number 7, it's a little bit different because you do have a binomial, right? Sorry, number 6 times a trinomial. So you can do this multiplying, or you can do this in the box method. If you do this in the box method, you need to make sure you make that box big enough. Okay, so we have x plus 2. You have x squared. You could even write x to the first if that helps you with your exponents. You just need to multiply real carefully because x times x squared, how many x's is that?
X3.
X to the third, good. Negative x times x is what? X squared. Make sure you're very careful with those exponents. That's the part that messes people up. X times 4 is a positive 4x. Put that positive sign in there. You've got to have a plus or a minus to connect your terms. And then in the second row, 2 times x squared is a positive 2x squared. 2 times negative 3x is negative 6x. 2 times 4 is a positive 8. And most of the time, if you're using the box, your like terms are going to be on the diagonal. So we have x to the third. What's a negative 3 and a positive 2? Negative 1. Make sure your signs are carefully written because that's going to be a mistake as well. What's 4 minus 6? Negative 2. Remember, we do not change our exponents or our variables when we're adding and subtracting. So this one was a big one. So on number 8, you have this beautiful skyscraper painting. Interesting. That they're using for the musical. Okay, area. What do we know about the word area? This is length times width. So of the larger. So you could use FOIL, multiplying. You could use box. What would you prefer we use right here? Or you do it yourself. I'm going to write it out over here. 3x minus 4 times 5x plus 12. If you want to use the box, go for it. If you want to use FOIL, that's fine. I'm going to FOIL this. So 3x times 5x is 15x squared. That's the part people mess up on. Be careful. Plus 36x minus 20x. I know I need to put these together. Minus 48. And when we put those together, 15x squared plus 16x minus 48. And then it says, what is the area of the smaller one? Okay. X minus 8 times 2x minus 3. Be very careful with your signs. So 3x squared. I'm sorry, 2x squared. I apologize.
Minus 3x.
Right? X times x is that x squared. Not sure where I got the 3 there. Minus 3x, maybe I was jumping ahead. Minus 16x. I know I need to put those together. Negative times a negative is a positive. So when we put these together, 2x squared minus 19x. If you're struggling with those integer rules, please, please, please use the calculator. What is the total area? What does total tell us we need to do here? We're going to add these. So I realize that there's not much space on your paper. I'm going to kind of squish mine down here. 15x squared. And this is just like terms like we did last week. And then we have 2x squared. And you could, again, you can write it in a row if that's what you prefer. It just depends on what your organization is for your brain. 17x squared minus 3x minus 24 when we collect like terms.